All right, we ready to start? Yeah. Okay, hello Zoomtopia. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is David, and I have literally never been this excited to give a presentation before. First of all, this is Zoomtopia, and I cover the visual collaboration industry. So this is the Super Bowl for me. The theme this year is gratitude, and the people at Zoom, thank you so much for this opportunity. Second of all, this is the most fun presentation I've ever put together. I can't wait to share it with you. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy preparing it. And finally, it occurred to me the music's starting in a couple hours. Technically, this is one of the opening acts. I've never opened for Skinner before. So thank you so much for laughing at that. Oh, I love you all so much. Oh my God. And if you think that I'm not updating my LinkedIn bio to say opening for Skinner and Snoop, you are so wrong. You're so wrong. So let's get started. What is our topic? Oh, webinars. Okay, let me set up some expectations and then completely destroy them. Now, the expectations are, I'm a guy who gives a lot of webinars. Zoom likes my webinars. They have an amazing webinar platform. So they invited me here to do the standard webinar, how to do a good webinar presentation. You know, the 7 points, or the 8 tips, or the 12 tips. We all know them, right? Look at the webcam so you make eye contact. Make sure you don't have backlighting. Check your audio. If everyone's complaining about an echo and you don't hear it, you're causing the echo. But you know what? Let's not go through those tips. This is Zoomtopia. You deserve more. How many of you have heard this presentation before, the 5 tips, the 7 tips? Okay, enough of us. We're going to do something bigger, something better. We're going to fundamentally change the way we do webinars. We're going to fundamentally change the way we think about webinars. Now, those tips are still applicable. They're still good, but there's something more important going on. And I'm going to have a lot of those tips throughout the presentation. I'm not going to have a bullet point list. That doesn't help anyone. But I'm going to have some good tips. Let me start you off with one. When you look at the webcam to make eye contact, you want to smile. People like you more when you smile. So to remind yourself to smile, put a picture of something that makes you smile next to your webcam. Print it out and attach it there. Something cute, like your pets or your kids. Or something really beautiful, like the Mona Lisa or Zoom's IPO filing. Oh, thank you. Oh, my God, this is the best. You guys are the best. OK, so let's start. And this presentation is going to have more. It's not just going to have the tips. In fact, if you stay till the end, I'm going to show you something you've never seen before. 3D in a webinar presentation setting without glasses or without any kind of special screen. Really something that's going to blow your mind. Now let's get into it. I'm David Maldo. I'm the founder of Let's Do Video. We cover business collaboration, team productivity, with a focus on video. And I give a lot of webinars and a lot of presentations. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering about the picture. I use that picture for a reason. That picture was only taken 2 years ago, around the time of the first Zoomtopia. Things change fast and dramatically in this industry. You have to pay attention. Okay? And I spent 2 years growing out this ridiculous-looking hair just to make that point. Now, being Zoomtopia, you get something special. You get more. You don't just get one presenter. Today, we have 2 presenters. I'm not only David Maldo. At night, I become Boom So Much, guitar streamer. I'm not going to do the thing where I do 2 voices and talk to myself. That's weird. I'm Boom and I'm David all the time. Now, how many people here have heard of Twitch TV, the Twitch platform? Oh, OK, great, a lot of you. For those that haven't, it's a massive website, massive platform where the kids stream their video games and watch each other streaming their video games. Amazon bought it for $1 gazillion a few years ago, and it's become a very big thing. And it used to be all about video games, but a few years they opened it up. They now have art streams and cooking streams and baking streams and all music streams. So I thought it'd be a good way to practice guitar and get better. And 2 years ago, I started a nightly guitar stream. And recently, this is all gamified, a little pop-up. I don't know if you can see that little box. I got an award for streaming 2,000 hours. If you do that in a row, it's almost 3 months. It's 83 days of streaming. So between David and Boom, I do a lot of streaming. But it's a very different kind of streaming. David's webinars tended to be the old traditional bullet point, buttoned-up webinars. And as Boom So Much, I realized I could do anything. I've become known on Twitch in the guitar community, not for my guitar playing, but because I've become very good at the software. My stream is known for having the crazy effects. They call me the streaming wizard. I say, back me up, and a cartoon dancer pops behind me. I have 80s graphic effects behind me. I say billboard, and all of a sudden I'm on a billboard playing guitar with cars driving beneath me. I say arcade, and I'm in a Pac-Man thing with Pac-Man chasing me. I could go on and on. It's 2 years of development. But till now, I kept them separate because I was a little embarrassed by it. It's a fun hobby, but it's not very professional. It's not very businesslike. I didn't want you people to know about it until I realized maybe I can combine these two worlds. Maybe I could use some of my tricks from streaming to improve my webinars. And I've done that. I've found ways to make my webinars far more engaging, and I've already been doing this. It's easier to show you than to explain it to you, so let me show you this video that I prepared just for this. Hello, Zoomtopia 2019. Now, you may be wondering why I'm talking to you through a video when I'm standing right there. But there's something that I have that's just a lot easier to show you than to try to explain with bullet points. So everything you're about to see are things that I can do and am already doing live in Zoom webinars. I'm doing them differently. Instead of sharing screen and having me in a small box, I just have found a way to put my content behind me, using features in Zoom and a combination of third-party available software. Now, this is not just a picture of the slide deck. This is the actual active PowerPoint. I can actually present this way, go through the slides like any other presentation. And if I'm in the way of the deck, I could move myself off to the side. If a slide has something over here, I could move myself to the other side. And this is just the beginning. But the point is, this is already available. All of this can be done live. I already am doing it live. And the reaction that I've gotten from the webinars that I've done this way has been better than any webinars I've ever done. People really like this. It's more impact, I'm getting my points across, and it's a lot more fun. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. In just a few minutes, I put this together very simply. I haven't used this in a webinar yet, but obviously I easily could. And we could really do anything. Whatever I want to put behind me, a city, a moving animated video, lightly animated, I like this one, the city background. Anyway, the point is all of this can be done live now and can be a lot of fun. So it's time to start thinking outside of the box. Thank you, Zoomtopia. Thank you, me. Now, first, just to get out of the way, several months ago, when I started doing this in webinars using Zoom, I called my Zoom contacts, got on a Zoom video, and put the stuff behind me and said, I'm doing these things. And it'd be great if I didn't have to use this third-party software. It'd be great if we could get PowerPoints in Zoom and moving backgrounds in Zoom and all those things. And yesterday at the keynote, they showed us that pretty soon we'll be able to do those things. They're actually putting it into Zoom, so I won't have to rely on all the third-party software. Now, it was a little weird they didn't invite me on the stage during the keynote to thank me or make me an honorary member of the development team, but the theme is gratitude. I'm just happy to be here. Thank you very much. But you see what's going on here. Things that we used to consider post-production, I can do live. Anything that you would record and then do in Premiere Pro, in Premiere Pro, we'll put something behind you. In Premiere Pro, we'll change your size. In Premiere Pro, we'll move the slides. I can do all of those things, literally anything, live. Now, let's get to the agenda. I bounce around a little bit. We're already halfway through, and I haven't even told you what we're talking about. I don't like bullet points, but sometimes you need text just to give you some grounding, some letting you know what I want your takeaways to be. And there's 3 big takeaways I want you to have from this. 1, webinar happiness is possible, and it's super important. 2, video and visuals make the difference. There is a 2% chance that you're going to remember these 3 takeaways from this slide. I'm going to have to give you some really good visuals and graphics if I want you to really remember these three things. And the last one, do not be afraid to break the rules. It's the Wild West now. We can do whatever we want. We can be creative. Now, the first thing, webinar happiness. Really? Webinar happiness? Now, did I just say webinar happiness because I know Zoom likes happiness, and if I say happiness, my Zoom friends will be happy? No, I really believe it's important. Happiness is the key to Zoom success, and happiness can be your key to webinar success. Now, you can do tips all day. We can fix our lighting. We can fix our mic. We can learn to make eye contact with the camera. We can learn to not read our slide decks. We can learn all those things. None of that will fix the fundamental problem with webinars. We all know what the fundamental problem with webinars is. We hate them. We hate them. We hate giving them. We hate watching them. They're boring. They're no fun. Until we find webinar happiness, nothing else is really going to matter. Now, I'm using this as an example to help remember the takeaway. This isn't something I would do in a business webinar. But for my guitar stream, one day it occurred to me, you know, I think it might bring me happiness to play Van Halen while riding on the back of a dragon. And I was able to put this together. I had to get a friend to design the jeans for me. Now again, you might be thinking, you know, okay, I have friends who are good with Premiere Pro. I've done these sort of things before. What's the big deal? That's not in Premiere Pro. I do that live. Anytime during my guitar stream, I have a voice trigger. I say the words, "Ride the dragon," and it switches me to that scene. And, you know, I did it because I thought it might make me happy, and yeah, it makes me happy every time. There's nothing like riding on the back of the dragon playing Van Halen. And it makes my viewers happy. They demand it. Can you please play the next song on the dragon? So happiness is possible, but it's not just because of crazy graphic effects and things that you're not going to do in webinars. What really makes webinar happiness possible is what Zoom has done to the webinar platform. How many people here have done an old webinar before Zoom was around? Okay, okay, so you share my pain. How many people here have made, not a webinar, but a regular vanilla Zoom call? Okay, that's what it feels like to make a Zoom webinar. It's really nothing. So here's another slide with a bunch of words on it. I'm giving it to you for impact, not for information. I'm not going to read them. You could look through them if you want. I want you to get the point. There's a bunch of stuff that we didn't like about yesterday's webinars, and Zoom fixed them all. Webinars used to be a stressful, expensive headache. And now it's really like making a Zoom call, but there's a few extra people and you can't see them. It's nothing. And the beautiful thing about this is that it's opened up webinars for everyone. A lot of people, how many people here would rather have a root canal than do what I'm doing right now? All right, there's some of you, right? People are terrified of public speaking. And I get that, that's real. You know, my adrenaline's through the roof right now. And I used to feel that way when I gave webinars. Now I don't. I don't get the same nervousness that I have right now when I'm giving a Zoom webinar. It really feels like a Zoom call. So the fact is, webinars aren't just for divas like me anymore. They're for everyone. They're for the person with the information. It used to be the webinar was the one person in the office who's not afraid to do this, whether that person knew or didn't know what the subject matter was. Now, if you're the person in your company who created the new data management system, you should be the one giving the webinar convincing people to use the new data management system, and you shouldn't be scared. By the way, I love that graphic, right? Reset me. I have it set up on my stream. If I say the word diva, that pops up. My viewers love it. So the second point, using video and visuals. I think you got the idea already that I really don't like these bullet point things. Are we memorizing facts for a test? Are you going to be tested afterwards? There's really no reason for the bullet points. They're not going to remember the 7 points. If you're lucky, you'll get the impact that, oh, there's something I could do, and they might remember 2 or 3 of the points. The bullet points really, they really don't make the impact. And we've known this for a long time. I remember when Steve Jobs first showed us the iPhone. He blew our mind in 2 ways. He blew our minds with the iPhone, and he blew our minds with the way he presented it. His slide deck had no bullet points. It had pictures of the phone and like one word, you know, vision, future, that kind of stuff. And we all said, this is the way we're doing presentations now. This is the right way to do it. And then we went back to the last 13 years or whatever it's been, the old bullet points. Why? I think it's because we're scared. We're afraid of change. We're afraid of taking risks. Before I founded Let's Do Video 5 years ago, I was trying to make a Steve Jobs deck. We were hired to do a webinar, and I was going to present it. And I made a deck like this, and my team, they made me change it. They made me make it into a bullet point deck. They said, David, you can't present like this. I said, why not? It's not a takeaway deck. This deck doesn't stand alone. This doesn't make any sense without me presenting it. People want the deck for the information. I'm like, no, I want impact, not information. I want to present it this way. David, the bullets keep you on track. You'll ramble. You tell your stories. You need the bullet point deck. And I said, but Steve Jobs. And my team looked at me and said, David, you're not Steve Jobs. And I was like, hey, no, OK. I'm not Steve Jobs. None of us are Steve Jobs. I'm not Eric. I'm not going to create the new iPhone. I'm not going to create the new Zoom. But I can give an effective presentation. We don't have to be afraid anymore. Let's have some fun. And it's not just that bullet points are boring. They don't get the impact across. The next slide, next slide is a slide that I use in a lot of my decks to make a point. I present a lot talking about how to implement video technology, collaboration technology, set up meeting rooms. And I always want to make the point that if the CTO finds the coolest new toy at one of these demos and buys it and put it in the meeting rooms, that's not the right way to do it. The right way is to find out the way your team wants to work and then get the right tools to support your team. I see a lot of you nodding. You get that point. You understand what I said. The words worked. But I think I can make the impact a lot better with a graphic, with an image. So have any of you heard of the concept of a desire path? Okay, just a couple. I love sharing this with people for the first time because it's one of my favorite concepts. And if you already know it, it's less of a shock. But so on my left, my right, your left, this is a desire path. And I think you already get where I'm going with this. When this corner was designed, the engineers made a nice sidewalk. So you don't trip on the grass, you don't trip on the roots, you don't trip on the dirt. Nice, smooth sidewalk, no one gets hurt. And that's where they want you to walk. But the people didn't want to walk around on the sidewalk. They wanted to cut across. And I love how organic that curve is. No engineer would design that. It's perfect. And this is what we see in the workplace. We give them the tools we want to use, and they walk in with their phones and use the apps that they want to use. And the old way of doing things, when you see a desire path, was to say, no, 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 users, that's not what we want you to do. You put up a fence, or you put up a sign that says, keep off the grass. And what happens? They hop the fence and they ignore the sign. We can't ignore the desire paths. So what's the right way to do it? The way they do it on college campuses. When I went to college, I wondered, who designed these paths? And what drugs were they on? I mean, it's crazy. They're all over the place. They're all different widths. How did they figure this out? The way they do that is with desire paths. They plant the grass. They don't put down any cement. They wait a couple semesters until the faculty and the students walk around, and then they just pave the desire paths. And that's what I want our IT people to do. See the way people are working, and then smooth it down for them. Oh, this is the way you want to walk? You want to curve around that tree? Fine. We'll pave it down. Now you could rollerblade on it. You can even make it even smoother. This stays with people. I've given this presentation. I've given tons of 7 bullet point presentations. I've never had someone come up to me afterwards and say, hey, that presentation you gave 3 months ago, I printed out those 7 bullet points, and now they're my Bible, and I read them every day. But I have people come up to me and go, desire path guy, I love that. This stays with people. Another thing that makes this work so well for me is because I love this. I'm very human when I'm talking about this. I'm not being in presenter mode. I'm not trying to make a point. I'm sharing something I really like. Being human is a big part of it. Now, this next slide, this takes a little bit of context, but this is something cool. Every once in a while, we have these transitional moments in our life where everything changes, and mine was caught on video. What happened here was Zoom asked me to do a video interview of Natasha Walia, Senior Product Manager at Zoom. She had just created their ability to stream over YouTube and stream over Facebook. And I was going to do a recorded interview with her. We were streaming live as we were recording it because we were testing it out. But when you do a recorded interview, you edit and everything. And in the middle of it, I kind of forgot I was live. And Natasha noticed and called me out, and I had a moment. Okay, I'm just going to back up a little and.
You're still live on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, if anyone's watching us, hello. So, when Natasha said, we're live on YouTube, if you watched it, you could see my eyes get really wide for half a second, and I had a choice to make. I could have stayed in button-up presenter mode. Oh, sorry, audio guy, sorry. And said, yes, of course we are live. Now let's continue with this interview. Or I could have just been human. And that's what I was. And it made Natasha more human. You see the way, like all of a sudden, we're best friends. It was great. So I included this as a bonus outtake on the video. And I sent it to Zoom, and I said, I put something a little unprofessional at the end, a little extra. If you don't want it, I'll edit it out. And they said, the bonus outtake's our favorite part. It makes you guys human. We love it. This moment transformed me from buttoned-up presenter to just being David. Now, this slide is a perfect slide. It requires no context. I don't have to say, I'm still going to talk over it because that's what I do. But this really could stand alone. Old webinars. I would watch that webinar. David and Natasha look professional. They look prepared. I'm sure they know their material. And I'm sure it would be very helpful. David and Natasha on the bottom, I'll watch that webinar and I'll trust them. I'll like them. They seem like people. This is everything. This is what we're changing from. Old webinars to new webinars. This is probably my favorite slide in the deck. Now, I promised some tips. When we talk about being human, here's an important tip about being human. In fact, oh, you guys know this. This is the most important tip in this deck, the most important tip of any presentation at Zoomtopia, the most important tip for any webinar or presentation you'll ever hear. Now, I'm sure if anyone hasn't seen this clip, it was viral a couple of years ago. This gentleman was doing an interview from home. He's a subject matter expert, I'm not sure on what, with the BBC. And this happened.
I would argue that this is the triumph of democracy. Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region, do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. My apologies.
The region.
My apologies. South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited in the last 6 months to a year because of North Korea's behavior. Most recently, the use of VX gas in the airport in Malaysia that indicates that North Korea really doesn't follow global norms.
Okay. Now, obviously it's hilarious. But what really bugged me about this is why didn't he just act human? It still would have been funny. It might have gone a little bit viral, but what made it so funny is how awkward he was, right? What if he just decided to be a human being and said, I'm sorry, this is really embarrassing, my kid, let me just hold on a second. Honey, you gotta go outside, daddy's working, and then he sat back down. It wouldn't have been nearly as funny. Why did he do this? It bothered me. And I decided to investigate. And I looked at this video, and I found something that no one else has found. This has been investigated to death. This has been talked about on every talk show, every internet website. I found something that none of them found. I was determined. There's something weird going on here. So I looked at this video frame by frame. And these two frames are what got me. The awkward angle when he's pushing her away. And then later, when she sits down and knocks everything over, the look on his face of resignation. There's nothing I can do. This is my life now. Why is he so powerless? Why is he so trapped? Why doesn't he just get up and take care of it? And then it hit me. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is not wearing pants. He's not. I am serious. This man is not wearing pants. Think about it. I don't have proof, but think about it. You're working at home. You have breakfast with your wife and kids. Oh, the BBC's going to call me. Okay, I'm going to put on my shirt. I'm going to put on my tie. I'm going to put on my jacket. Well, I don't want to wrinkle the pants. No one's going to see me. Why would he be wearing pants, right? He wasn't wearing pants. So my tip is, when you give a webinar, wear pants. Okay? I do video meetings all day. Pajama bottoms are okay when you're talking to your partners and your clients. It's okay. If I stand up and you see I'm wearing pajama bottoms, it's not going to cost me any business. When I give a webinar, I put on pants. Okay. And that brings me to the next tip. Humor makes the point. You guys have been a very forgiving audience. I usually shoot for, because comedy's hard. And if you try too hard to be funny, it gets really cringy. I usually try for 3 or 4 jokes, and if 1 or 2 of them hit, oh, I'm so happy. That's really all you need. And if some of them bomb, that's okay too. We're not stand-up comedians. But humor is good. If you can get a good joke in there, it sticks with people. Now, the next slide is another slide that I use. And again, it's a slide that people remember, that people come back to. And it's trying to make the point that when you give technology to your users, you need to make sure they're implementing it correctly or they won't get value out of it. Now, you all agree with it. Are you going to remember that? Did it make an impact, or was it just something I said that, that's true? You guys see what's going on here? I love these guys, right? They have this problem. They have sun in their eyes. If someone would only give them something with a visor to block the sun. Now, and the point I make is we really shouldn't blame them. We didn't find out what their workflow was first. We gave them the tool that wasn't appropriate. It's the IT person who gave them that hat. They should have found out how they like to wear their hats. Oh, I wear my hat backwards. Well, then this isn't the right tool to block the sun out of your eyes. But the point for this webinar is humor makes the point. People remember this. They have fun with it. So we're nearing the end. Oh, OK. I'm ahead of schedule. This is great. The next point I want to make is to use your crucial skills. It looks like the title got changed on here, but the title was Use Your Crucial Skills. And the point here is I think a lot of people look at these features of webinars and say, oh, these are advanced features. We're just new at webinars. We're not professional webinar people. We're just playing with this Zoom thing. We're not going to use these advanced features for advanced webinar performers. These are not your advanced features. These are your crucial, basic skills. Not using polls, not using Q&A, not using these tools. It's like, imagine playing 8.5 innings of baseball barehanded and then looking at the other team and saying, no wonder they're catching so much better than us. They're all wearing gloves. These are your gloves if you're playing baseball. Now, I'm going to have a tip within a tip. I'm going to break one of my own rules, and this might fail really badly. And if it does, it'll make the point that don't be scared of webinars. It's OK if you fail. But the tip is, it's something I actually learned from Rodney Dangerfield. I'm dating myself, but I like Rodney Dangerfield. I once heard him give an interview, and he was talking about how he was at a comedy club, a small comedy club, and he was trying out new jokes, and they were bombing. And he started getting heckled. And someone was yelling, these new jokes stink. And finally he stopped and he looked at the guy and said, look, I'm going to be on the Johnny Carson show in 2 weeks. Should I try out the new material on the Tonight Show, or do I try the material out on you knuckleheads? Don't try out new material on Carson. And I'm about to try out new material on Carson, and it really might bump. How many people here are video gamers? All right, I'm counting on you guys to get this and carry me through. The next clip, I'm trying to make the point of using your crucial skills. This is a video. It's only 1 minute, so if it bombs, it will suffer through it for a minute. It's a clip that went viral on Twitch. A very popular streamer had played a game for 100 hours using just her basic punch attack. And then she found out that at the very beginning of the game, there's a place where you learn your crucial skills, your magic attacks with the fires and the flames and all those things. Not your special skills, your crucial skills. And this is her reaction to finding out that she'd been playing without using her crucial skills. And this is what it's like doing a webinar without your crucial skills.
Use a side hop to avoid enemy attacks. This will create an opening that you can use. What's a side? Was I supposed to find this at the start of the game? Oh my god. This is the tutorial. I've done 3 out of the 4 divine beasts, and this is the tutorial. Just really wants to make sure I'm jumping. I'm sorry, what now? Do a backflip? You can backflip in this game? Are you kidding me? You can charge attacks? Crucial.
Crucial skills.
Calling these skills crucial.
Look how sad she is. She played for 100 hours. And thank you for laughing. I didn't completely bomb. That was OK. 100 hours without using her crucial skills. And a lot of people are doing webinars the same way. You can be getting so much more impact. You can be getting so much more ROI by using the tools that Zoom has put in their webinar platform. Now, finally, I told you there were 3 takeaways I wanted you to have. The first takeaway is webinar happiness. And I used a lot of videos to get that. You saw me flying on the dragon. I hope that will help you remember webinar happiness. The second was to use visuals. We had desire paths. We had me and Natasha. We had all these visuals to help you remember to use visuals to get your point across. And the last thing I wanted you to remember is to think outside the box. So I need something to help you to remember to think outside the box. And I think I promised you all at the beginning of this a 3D effect. Thank you, Zoomtopia 2019. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and got something out of it. We've come a long way since the first Zoomtopia, but Zoom is still pushing the boundaries. Speaking of pushing the boundaries, let me show you one last trick from my guitar stream that'll help you remember to think outside the box when it comes to webinars. Want to see my guitar in 3D? All right, 3D in a two-dimensional screen. How is this possible? What? There it is, coming right out of the screen at you. So remember, anything's possible with today's streaming software. Have fun and bring your webinars to the next level. Thanks again, Zoomtopia. I was so proud of myself when I figured that out. No one else on Twitch figured that out. Thank you. So, any questions? Yes? Oh, I'm sorry, red with the red shirt.
Can you go back to the slide where you had those three things? I don't know a lot of the terms you had there, like viewer escalation.
Oh, yes. Actually, let's go through some of these. Okay, under presenting, branding and social streaming. Using Zoom, you can brand your webinar, so instead of looking like a Zoom webinar, it looks like your company's webinar. That little bit makes a difference. Social streaming. You can do your webinar, and you could also stream it over YouTube or Facebook. You know, be cool for the kids. Viewer escalation is actually one of my favorite features, and only a few webinar platforms have this feature. And I've used it. I'm like, are people going to actually do this? But I've used it, and it's amazing. What it is if someone has a question, instead of typing in the question to chat, you can escalate them to video. So all of a sudden, they're in the meeting with you, just like a normal Zoom participant, and you could see them ask their question face to face, and you could answer them, and you could see their reaction. It is so much more engaging and so much more compelling than just please type your questions in the chat. And integrations, Zoom has tons of integrations. Salesforce, everything else to get your results from the webinars and put them into your systems and do your follow-ups. And on demand, after the webinar is done, a lot of times we just throw it up on YouTube. You can make it an on-demand video, so you still get those registrations. You still get that information from people as they watch it after the live event. Okay. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you and or your company have any tutorial videos up on YouTube or anywhere about how to do this?
I'm working on them. I do have a video podcast on Let's Do Video where it's similar to the first slide where I just kind of explain what's going on, but I haven't yet done tutorials. But if you're wondering what the third-party software is, it's called OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. It's free, it's open source. That's what I use. Basically, there's a way to make it to pretend to be a camera. So anything I do in OBS, that's where all the tricks and crazy stuff are. When you go into Zoom and you choose your camera, instead of choosing my Logitech Brio, I choose the OBS imaginary camera. So Zoom thinks that the OBS software is a camera. And anything I do in OBS just shows up in Zoom. Any other questions? Thank you. Yes?
Hi, I'm from the education industry, and I was just wondering if you had any tips or tricks or tidbits on working particularly with students, with educators, with the K-12 industry, or anything if that's come up.
Nothing's come up in particular, but I think it's just more of the same. You know, younger people are a little harder to keep their attention. Maybe they might need a little bit more of this fun stuff. I think basically this would be particularly effective with the younger people. I'm so old. Yes.
So are any of the things that you're introducing today as ideas something that is coming with Zoom, or is everything that you're talking about ready to go with Zoom right now?
I'm able to do everything you've seen, and I already am doing it. I've already done it in webinars for various vendors and companies using a combination of this OBS software and Zoom. And Zoom is in the process of adding some of these features. So when I made this video, it's not available yet. I think they said December or next month or something. So the moving background as opposed to just a flat virtual background, Zoom will be able to do that, but now you need to use the third-party software. Having a PowerPoint as your background, Zoom will be able to do that, but now you need to use the third-party software. And hopefully they'll add more. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you do anything special with your lighting to make your virtual background more
Yeah, it's funny. I actually, I made several mistakes when it came to my green screen. When my green screen started, let me see, it's in the video with Natasha, I painted my wall blue because my company's logo color is blue and I like blue. I thought that'd be nice. And then I realized, wait a minute, if the whole wall is blue, I can use it as a blue screen. So I took down the whiteboard, I took down the guitars, and I started using a blue screen. Now, the reason people use a green screen is because there's no green in human skin tone. Any human skin tone, none of us have any green in our faces. So if you take the green out of the picture, you still look okay. Blue is almost as good as green. There's not a lot of blue. So blue's okay, but green is better. I learned that afterwards, that it was okay to use blue. But one mistake I made is, well, first of all, the first mistake was using blue when all of my favorite t-shirts are blue. So I have to wear red or non-blue shirts, otherwise I'm a floating head. It's really bad. The other mistake I made is I used glossy paint. So you see those shiny spots on the wall? They mess up my green screen effect. I have to twiddle with the things. I have to, the white balance, the chroma key, I have to fiddle forever to try to make those spots not show up. But in general, more light is better. I have 2 lights. I bought them on Amazon for $35 each. They look like the photographer lights with the white box thing around them. So it's not too glaring in my face. And those work amazingly well. Now, theoretically, you're supposed to have 3 kind of lights. You're supposed to have, I don't remember this, key lighting, fill light, and yeah, so the key light, I think, gets your face, the fill light gets the room, and another light gets back on the green screen. I don't have that, so I have shadows on my green screen. When I move, you see shadows behind me. It's a process. But ideally, you get those 3 lights, light on the green screen, light in the room, light on you. And when you're doing green screen, more light is better. Lighting's everything. Any other questions? Yes?
Are we going to see you tonight on stage with Scanner playing guitar?
I'd love that. Sweet Home Alabama's hard to play. I've been working on it. I'm not there yet. But if you follow me on Twitter at BoomSoMuch, I always tweet before I go live, 6 or 7 nights a week, usually around 9 o'clock Eastern time, and type in the chat. I'll play any request you want. Oh, also, please follow me on Twitter at Let's Do Video on the business side. Yes?
What microphone are you using, or just the 3 mic? What are you using?
I'm currently, I'm in between mics. I'm testing. Being in this industry, they keep sending me mics. I got more mics. I'm currently using a Sennheiser headset or the Plantronics one that goes around. Neither of them are ideal. The Plantronics one, it sits here, so when I turn my head. And the Sennheiser, it's only in one ear, so I can't get stereo sound. Ideally, I want to get one of those Logitech. They bought the Yeti company, Blue Yeti mics. A lot of streamers use Brio cameras and Blue Yeti mics. Any other questions? Yes?
When are those features going to be available? So you're using OBS right now. When does it become part of the suite?
I think they said, we'll have to ask the Zoom people, but I thought they said December. Yeah. Oh, okay. But they're only doing so far the PowerPoints behind you and the moving videos behind you. The way I moved myself, made myself bigger and smaller, they don't have that yet. Or they're not talking about it yet. I'm going to push them on it.
I definitely feel like people want the new webinar versus the old. We do a lot of cutting edge stuff with the videos that we do.
Oh, nice.
All that stuff is great. I think that's what gets people's interest. So
Yeah.
see more of that.
And it's a lot more fun. I mean, as opposed to me being in a tiny little box. And if you look at bullet point 1, if you look at bullet point 2, I get to play weatherman. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this. It's right behind me. It's as good as being here. Any other questions? Yes.
Utilizing the live streaming feature for webinars, it seems to be not the most utilized feature. How do you use it? Why do you use it? What's your target audience? When using it?
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I think a lot of people, I think part of the reason it doesn't get used is because when we do a webinar, we want to get the registrations. And if you put it over Facebook Live, who knows who's watching it? I think that's one of the things that's hindering it. I think the companies that are using it are ones that are trying to be more trendy, trying to be more hip, trying to look more cutting edge, and trying to get those extra viewers. But you're right, I'm not seeing a lot of it, and I'd like to see more of it because I think it's cool and it's fun. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you know if this is coming or if it's already available for making webinars more accessible
I'm upset that I don't know that they're doing that. They should be doing that. I know they're doing the closed captioning. That's a great start. I thought that in the keynote yesterday, the closed captioning, but I love those features, and we should talk to the Zoom people about that because that's important, and that would be great. I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on it, but I haven't heard anything specific yet. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Freebird.